In the year 2347, humanity had reached further into space than ever before. The Odyssey Dawn, a sleek exploration vessel, was one of Earth's proudest achievements. Its mission was simple: to seek out new worlds and uncover the mysteries of the universe. The crew aboard the ship was small but highly skilled, each member chosen for their expertise. Leading them was Commander Daniel Carter, a calm and steady man who trusted his instincts. By his side was Laura Bennett, the chief science officer, known for her sharp mind and endless curiosity. The journey had been long and quiet, with days filled with routine checks and careful mapping of uncharted star systems. But everything changed on the 147th day of the mission. As the Odyssey Dawn drifted through an unremarkable sector of space, something unusual happened. The ship's sensors picked up a faint signal, a series of pulses that didn't match any known communication patterns. At first, the crew thought it might be interference from cosmic radiation or a glitch in the equipment. But as they analyzed the data, they realized it was real. Laura was the first to notice something strange about the signal. "Commander," she said, her voice tinged with excitement, "this isn't random noise. It's repeating. And I think it's trying to say something." Daniel leaned over her shoulder, studying the readouts on her screen. The signal was weak, distorted by distance, but parts of it seemed to form patterns. After hours of work, Laura managed to clean up the transmission enough to make out fragments of words. They were in English, or at least something very close to it. "Come home," the voice whispered, broken and distant. "Children, return." Daniel frowned. "English. Out here." He shook his head. "It doesn't make sense." Laura agreed, but her curiosity only grew. "Whoever sent this knew we'd understand it. Maybe it's a message meant specifically for us." The source of the signal was traced to a star system several light years away. It wasn't marked on any of their maps, which meant it hadn't been explored before. The decision to investigate wasn't easy. The Odyssey Dawn was already low on supplies, and traveling off course would mean stretching their resources thin. But how could they ignore a message like this? What if it held answers to questions humanity had been asking for centuries? After much debate, Daniel gave the order to set a new course. The crew prepared for the journey, double-checking every system to ensure the ship was ready. As they approached the coordinates, anticipation built among the team. What would they find? Was it a colony of humans lost to history, or perhaps evidence of alien life? No one knew, and that uncertainty hung heavy in the air. When they finally arrived, what they saw left them speechless. Orbiting a dim, dying star was a massive structure unlike anything they had ever encountered. It looked like a space station, but it was enormous, larger than Earth's moon. Its surface shimmered with metallic hues, reflecting the faint light of the star. Strange designs covered its exterior, intricate patterns that seemed almost organic in nature. Yet there was something familiar about it too, though none of them could quite put their finger on why. "This is incredible," Laura murmured, staring at the structure through the viewport. "It's ancient, but it looks maintained, like someone still takes care of it." Daniel nodded. "Let's get closer. We need to figure out what this place is, and who sent that signal." As the Odyssey Dawn moved nearer, the station's defenses, or whatever passed for them, didn't react. There were no weapons firing, no drones patrolling the area. It was eerily quiet, as if the station were waiting for them. Using the ship's scanners, Laura detected an open docking bay large enough to accommodate the Odyssey Dawn. With caution, Daniel guided the vessel inside. Once docked, the crew suited up and ventured onto the station. The interior was vast and dimly lit, with corridors stretching endlessly in all directions. The walls were smooth and cool to the touch, adorned with more of those strange, flowing patterns. Every step echoed loudly in the silence, making the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. Then, without warning, holographic projections flickered to life around them. Towering figures appeared, translucent and glowing softly. They were humanoid but far taller than any person, with elongated limbs and serene faces. Their eyes glowed with an inner light, and their voices resonated deeply, filling the chamber. "Greetings, children," one of them said, its tone gentle yet commanding. "You have returned to us at last." Daniel glanced at Laura, unsure whether to speak or remain silent. Finally, he took a step forward. "Who are you? And what do you mean by children?" The figure inclined its head slightly. "We are the elders, creators of your kind. Long ago, we engineered you as tools, a weapon against a great threat. But time has erased your memories, and now you walk unaware of your purpose." Laura gasped, her mind racing. Engineered. Creators. None of it made sense. Before she could ask anything, the elder continued. "The threat we sought to combat, the Voidborn, is rising again. You must prepare yourselves, for only you can stop them. This station holds the knowledge you need. Use it wisely." With that, the hologram vanished, leaving the crew standing in stunned silence. Daniel turned to Laura, his expression grim. "What did we just walk into?" She shook her head, overwhelmed. "I don't know, but I think we're about to find out." And so, the journey began, not just across space, but into the depths of humanity's forgotten past. After the holographic message ended, the crew of the Odyssey Dawn stood frozen in disbelief. The words of the elders echoed in their minds, heavy with implications they couldn't fully grasp. Laura was the first to break the silence. She stepped closer to where the glowing figures had appeared, her eyes scanning the walls as if searching for hidden answers. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "They said we were created, engineered, like some kind of tool." Daniel crossed his arms, his face unreadable. "It doesn't make sense. If we're a weapon, why would they abandon us? Why leave us on Earth to figure things out on our own?" The questions hung in the air, unanswered. No one knew what to say. The revelation was too big, too strange to process all at once. They had come here expecting to find an alien civilization, or perhaps a lost human colony. Instead, they had stumbled upon their own creators, and learned that humanity wasn't natural at all. Laura turned back to the others, determination replacing her earlier shock. "We need to explore this place. There has to be more information here. Records, archives, something that can explain what they meant." Daniel nodded reluctantly. "Agreed. But stay alert. We don't know what else is here." The crew split into pairs, each group assigned to search a different section of the station. Laura and Daniel stayed together, heading deeper into the labyrinthine corridors. As they moved, they noticed subtle changes in the environment. The walls began to shimmer faintly, responding to their presence. Strange symbols lit up beneath their feet, guiding them forward like breadcrumbs. Eventually, they reached a large chamber filled with floating holograms. Each projection displayed scenes from humanity's history, but not the history they knew. These images showed ancient civilizations rising and falling under the watchful eyes of the elders. In one scene, humans were depicted as warriors, wielding advanced weapons and battling shadowy creatures that seemed to ooze darkness. In another, they were shown building cities on distant planets, guided by towering elder figures. "This is impossible," Laura whispered, her voice barely audible. "These events, they predate recorded history. How could this be real?" Daniel frowned, studying the projections closely. "If it's true, then everything we thought we knew about ourselves is wrong. We're not just explorers or survivors. We're soldiers, built for war." As they continued exploring, they discovered a central console at the heart of the chamber. It pulsed with energy, inviting them to interact. Laura hesitated for a moment before placing her hand on its surface. Instantly, a flood of information surged into her mind. She staggered back, clutching her head as visions raced through her thoughts. Images of genetic codes being rewritten, of humans being designed with specific traits, strength, adaptability, creativity, and even aggression. "It's true," she said when she finally regained her composure. "We were engineered. Every part of us was planned, down to the smallest detail. The Elders wanted a species capable of fighting whatever this voidborn threat is." Daniel rubbed his temples, trying to wrap his head around it. "But why tell us now? After thousands of years, why bring us back here?" Before Laura could respond, another hologram flickered to life. This time, only one elder appeared. Its expression was somber, almost regretful. "We failed you," it said, its voice echoing softly. "When the Voidborn attacked, we underestimated their power. Many of our kind fell, and we retreated to preserve what remained of our race. In doing so, we abandoned you, leaving you to evolve without guidance." The crew listened intently, their hearts pounding. The elder went on to explain that the Voidborn were unlike any enemy humanity had ever faced. They were a parasitic hive mind, capable of consuming entire civilizations and assimilating their knowledge. Their goal was simple: to expand endlessly, erasing individuality and free will wherever they went. "You are our last hope," the elder concluded. "The Voidborn have grown stronger over the centuries. They will come for you soon. You must awaken the abilities within you, the gifts we gave you long ago. Only then can you stand against them." When the message ended, the room fell silent once more. Laura looked at Daniel, her eyes wide with both fear and resolve. "This changes everything," she said. "If the Voidborn are coming, we need to warn Earth, and we need to figure out how to use these abilities they mentioned." Daniel sighed heavily. "Warning Earth won't be easy. If governments find out about this, there will be chaos. People won't know how to react. Some might see it as proof of divine purpose. Others will feel betrayed. Either way, it's going to divide us." Laura nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Then we'll have to decide who to trust. But first, we need to learn more. There's still so much we don't understand." Over the next few hours, the crew worked tirelessly to gather as much data as possible. They downloaded files, recorded observations, and took samples of the station's technology. Every discovery raised new questions, but one thing became clear: the Elders hadn't left them completely unprepared. Hidden throughout the station were devices designed to enhance human capabilities, tools meant to unlock the dormant potential within their DNA. Laura found herself drawn to one such device, a sleek pod-like machine with intricate controls. She hesitated, unsure whether to activate it. What if this is what they meant by awakening our abilities? She wondered aloud. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "Be careful, Laura. We don't know what it'll do. If something goes wrong." "I know," she interrupted, her tone firm. "But we can't afford to wait. If the Voidborn are really coming, we need every advantage we can get." With that, she stepped into the pod and initiated the sequence. A soft hum filled the chamber as the machine came to life. Streams of light enveloped her body, pulsing rhythmically. For a moment, she felt nothing. Then pain erupted, sharp and overwhelming. She cried out, collapsing to her knees as waves of energy coursed through her veins. Visions flashed before her eyes, fragments of memories that weren't hers. Battles fought, worlds destroyed, voices screaming in defiance. When it was over, Laura lay gasping for breath, her body trembling. Daniel rushed to her side, helping her sit up. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. She nodded weakly, though her mind was reeling. I think so. But something's different. I can feel it." Indeed, something had changed. Her senses were heightened, sharper than ever before. She could hear the faint hum of the station's systems, feel the vibrations of footsteps far down the corridor. Most startling of all, she realized she could manipulate objects with her mind, a newfound telekinetic ability that startled even herself. Daniel watched in awe as she lifted a small tool off the ground without touching it. "This is incredible," he said, "but also terrifying. What happens if we try this on everyone? Will they react the same way?" Laura shook her head. I don't know. But we need to find out. Whatever the cost, we have to prepare. The Voidborn aren't going to wait. And so the crew pressed on, driven by a mix of fear and determination. They didn't yet realize the full scope of what lay ahead or the sacrifices it would demand. But one thing was certain. Humanity's engineered origins had set them on a collision course with destiny, and there was no turning back. The news of humanity's engineered origins spread faster than anyone could have anticipated. Despite the crew's best efforts to keep the discovery a secret, fragments of information leaked out. Someone aboard the Odyssey Dawn had sent encrypted files back to Earth, hoping to alert key figures about the revelation. But secrets rarely stay hidden for long, especially when they involve the fate of an entire species. Emily Dawson was one of the first to catch wind of the story, a determined journalist with a knack for uncovering the truth. Emily had spent years chasing leads on government conspiracies and classified missions. When a source handed her a set of documents marked Elder Transmission, she knew she was onto something big. The files were incomplete, blurry images, fragmented audio recordings, and cryptic notes, but they painted a picture that was both thrilling and terrifying. Humanity hadn't evolved naturally. It had been created as a weapon. Emily didn't waste time. She reached out to Dr. Nathan Cole, a geneticist who had once been ridiculed for his controversial theories about human evolution. Years ago, Nathan had argued that humanity's rapid rise, from primitive tribes to space-faring civilizations, was too fast to be natural. He believed there had been some form of external intervention, though he never imagined it would involve alien engineers and intergalactic warfare. When Emily showed him the files, his eyes widened in shock. "This is it," he said, his voice trembling. "This proves everything I've been saying. We're not just a product of random chance. We were designed for a purpose." Together, Emily and Nathan began piecing together the puzzle. They cross-referenced the leaked data with ancient myths, religious texts, and archaeological findings. Strangely, many legends from different cultures seemed to align with the elders' claims. Stories of gods creating humans, of great wars fought against shadowy enemies, of chosen warriors destined to save the world. All of it hinted at a shared memory buried deep within humanity's collective consciousness. Meanwhile, aboard the station, tensions were rising. Laura's transformation had left her physically weakened, and the process had been excruciatingly painful. She tried to hide her discomfort from the others, but Daniel noticed. He approached her one evening as she sat alone in the dimly lit chamber, staring at the glowing console. "How are you holding up?" he asked gently. She sighed, rubbing her temples. "I'll manage. But I don't think everyone will react the way I did. What if activating these abilities kills someone, or drives them insane?" Daniel frowned. "We can't force anyone to go through this, but we also can't ignore what the elders said. If the Voidborn are coming, we need every advantage we can get." Laura nodded reluctantly. "You're right, but we need to test it carefully. Start with volunteers who understand the risks." Back on Earth, the leaked information sparked chaos. Governments scrambled to contain the fallout, issuing denials and censoring media outlets. But the truth had already taken root, spreading like wildfire across the internet. Conspiracy theorists celebrated, claiming vindication for their wildest ideas. Religious leaders denounced the findings, calling them blasphemy. Protesters flooded the streets, demanding answers. Some saw humanity's engineered origins as proof of divine purpose. Others felt betrayed, their sense of identity shattered. In response, Earth's nations declared a global state of emergency. Military forces were mobilized, and scientists worked around the clock to analyze the leaked data. The United Earth Council, a coalition of world leaders, held an emergency summit to discuss the implications. Should they prepare for war, seek out the elders for guidance, or try to negotiate with the Voidborn? Amid the turmoil, strange phenomena began occurring worldwide. People reported hearing whispers in their minds, faint voices speaking in languages they didn't recognize. Others claimed to see shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their vision. At first, these incidents were dismissed as mass hysteria or hoaxes. But when reports started coming in from astronauts aboard the International Space Station, it became clear that something unnatural was happening. On board the Odyssey Dawn, the crew noticed similar anomalies. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation, and some crew members complained of vivid nightmares. Ryan Miller, the ship's pilot, confided in Daniel about his growing unease. "I keep hearing things," Ryan admitted. "Voices. They're telling me to do things. Bad things. I don't know if it's real or if I'm losing my mind." Daniel listened carefully, his expression grim. "Stay calm, Ryan. Whatever's happening, we'll figure it out together." Despite the rising fear, progress was being made. Sofia Ramirez, the ship's engineer, volunteered to undergo genetic activation after witnessing Laura's newfound abilities. She wanted to protect her family back on Earth, even if it meant risking her life. The procedure was performed cautiously, with Laura monitoring every step. At first, it seemed successful. Sophia emerged from the pod stronger and faster, her reflexes heightened. She grinned triumphantly, flexing her hands as if testing her new strength. But the victory was short-lived. Hours later, Sophia began behaving erratically. Her movements became jerky and uncoordinated, and she struggled to focus. Then, during a routine maintenance check, she lost control entirely. In a fit of rage, she lashed out, damaging part of the station's infrastructure before collapsing in tears. The incident sent shockwaves through the crew. Some argued that the risks outweighed the benefits, while others insisted they couldn't afford to stop now. Laura pleaded for patience, reminding everyone that they were dealing with technology far beyond their understanding. "We're learning as we go," she said. "Mistakes are inevitable, but giving up isn't an option." As debates raged on board the station and panic gripped Earth, the Voidborn finally made contact. Their emissaries appeared as shadowy figures, shifting and reforming like liquid darkness. They communicated telepathically, their voices cold and emotionless. Humanity, they intoned, their words broadcasted across every communication channel on Earth. "You are remnants of a failed experiment. Surrender to us and join the collective. Resist, and you will be erased." The ultimatum sent shockwaves through the population. Billions of people watched in stunned silence as the Voidborn's message played repeatedly on screens and devices worldwide. Fear gripped humanity, but so did defiance. Commander Daniel Carter delivered a bold response, addressing the Voidborn directly. "We won't surrender," he declared, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We may have been created as weapons, but we're more than that. We're survivors, and we'll fight to protect our freedom." His words resonated deeply, inspiring hope in some and dread in others. The stage was set for a confrontation unlike any humanity had ever faced. The question remained, could they rise to the challenge, or would their engineered origins doom them to failure? The days that followed the Voidborn's ultimatum were a blur of chaos and preparation. Humanity had been given a choice, surrender or fight. But for many, there was no real decision to make. The idea of joining the Voidborn, a parasitic hive mind that erased individuality, was unthinkable. People would rather die than lose their freedom, their identities, their humanity. Yet the looming question remained, how could they possibly stand against such an enemy? On board the Odyssey Dawn, Laura worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of the station's technology. She had already undergone genetic activation, gaining telekinetic abilities, but she knew her powers alone wouldn't be enough. Every day, she spent hours studying the Elders' archives, searching for clues about how to awaken similar abilities in others. It wasn't just about strength or speed. It was about unlocking the full potential of humanity's engineered design. Daniel supported her efforts but remained cautious. "We can't rush this," he reminded her one evening as they reviewed data together. "If something goes wrong, we could lose more than just volunteers. We could lose trust." Laura nodded, though her frustration was evident. "I know, But time isn't on our side. The Voidborn aren't going to wait for us to get ready. Meanwhile, back on Earth, governments and scientists collaborated to build fleets of advanced warships. Using blueprints recovered from the station, engineers constructed vessels equipped with weapons based on Elder technology. Energy cannons capable of slicing through metal, shields that could deflect even the most powerful attacks, and engines that allowed faster-than-light travel. All of these innovations came from the knowledge left behind by the Elders. It was humanity's first step toward becoming the weapon it was always meant to be. But technology alone wasn't enough. Soldiers began undergoing genetic activation programs, volunteering to unlock their latent abilities. The process was risky, and not everyone survived. Those who did often emerged changed, not just physically, but mentally. Some gained heightened senses or incredible strength. Others developed psychic powers, like telepathy or precognition. But the transformation took its toll. Many struggled to control their new abilities, while others suffered from severe side effects, including memory loss and emotional instability. Private Alex Monroe was one of the soldiers chosen for activation, a young man with a fierce determination to protect his family. Alex saw the procedure as his duty. When he stepped into the pod-like machine, he felt a mix of fear and excitement. The pain came quickly, overwhelming, and unrelenting. Visions flooded his mind. Flashes of battles fought long before his time, memories that weren't his own. He screamed as his body convulsed, every nerve on fire. When it was over, Alex collapsed, gasping for air. His muscles felt stronger, his reflexes sharper. But there was something else, a constant buzzing in his mind, like whispers just out of reach. At first, he thought it was a side effect, but soon he realized it was worse. The activation had unlocked something deep within him, something primal and uncontrollable. His temper grew shorter, his emotions more volatile. In moments of stress, he found himself lashing out without thinking, his strength far beyond what he could manage. Alex became both a symbol of hope and a cautionary tale. His newfound power inspired others to volunteer, but his struggles served as a grim reminder of the risks involved. Military leaders debated whether to continue the program, weighing the benefits against the dangers. In the end, they decided to push forward, knowing they had no other choice. As preparations continued, humanity faced another challenge: unity. The revelation of their engineered origins had fractured society in unexpected ways. Some embraced the truth, seeing it as proof of their destiny to defend the galaxy. Others rejected it, refusing to believe they were anything less than natural beings. Religious groups clashed with scientists. Governments argued over resources, and protests erupted in cities worldwide. Despite the looming threat of the Voidborn, humanity couldn't seem to come together. Emily Dawson and Dr. Nathan Cole tried to bridge the gap, using their platform to promote understanding. Through interviews, articles, and public speeches, they emphasized the importance of cooperation. "We may have been created as weapons," Emily said during a live broadcast, "but that doesn't define us. What defines us is how we choose to respond. Will we let fear divide us, or will we stand united?" Their message resonated with some, but not everyone was convinced. Conspiracy theories ran rampant, fueled by misinformation and distrust. Some believed the entire story was a fabrication, a ploy by world leaders to seize control. Others claimed the Voidborn didn't exist at all, that the Elder's warning was nothing more than a test designed to manipulate humanity. Amid the turmoil, Laura made a breakthrough. She discovered a way to stabilize the activation process, reducing the risk of side effects. By combining Elder technology with modern medical techniques, she developed a serum that helped regulate the genetic changes. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. With Daniel's approval, she began administering the treatment to volunteers, carefully monitoring their progress. One of the first to benefit was Sofia Ramirez, the ship's engineer whose initial activation had gone awry. After receiving the serum, her condition improved dramatically. Her movements became steadier, her thoughts clearer. Though she still struggled with occasional lapses in control, she was able to return to her duties, grateful for the second chance. As the weeks passed, the crew of the Odyssey Dawn grew stronger and more prepared. They trained together, honing their new abilities and learning to work as a team. Laura practiced controlling her telekinesis, lifting heavier objects and refining her precision. Daniel focused on strategy, planning for every possible scenario. Even Ryan Miller, who had initially refused activation, began reconsidering his stance, watching as his teammates transformed into something greater. Despite their progress, the weight of the coming battle loomed heavily over them. The Voidborn were out there, watching, waiting. And when they arrived, humanity would face its greatest test yet. Would they rise to the challenge, proving themselves worthy of the legacy left by the Elders? Or would their engineered origins lead to their downfall? Only time would tell. The battle lines were drawn. Humanity had prepared as best it could, but the fear of what was coming weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Back on Earth, cities buzzed with activity. Factories worked around the clock to produce weapons and ships, while volunteers lined up to join the fight. The genetic activation program had been expanded, though not without controversy. Stories of soldiers like Alex Monroe spread quickly, painting a picture of both hope and danger. Some saw him as a hero, proof that humanity could rise to meet its engineered destiny. Others viewed him as a warning, a reminder of the risks involved in tampering with nature. On board the Odyssey Dawn, tensions continued to simmer. The crew had grown closer through their shared struggles, but cracks were beginning to show. Ryan Miller, the pilot, still refused to undergo genetic activation. He argued that altering themselves went against everything that made them human. "We're not tools," he said during one heated discussion. "We're people. Just because the Elders made us for war doesn't mean we have to become monsters." His words struck a nerve, especially with Sofia Ramirez, who had nearly lost herself during her own activation. She clenched her fists, her voice tight with frustration. "You think I wanted this? I didn't ask to be changed. But if it helps protect my family, if it gives us a chance to survive, then I'll take the risk. What about you, Ryan? Are you willing to sit back and do nothing while the rest of us fight?" Ryan looked away, unable to meet her gaze. He didn't answer, but his silence spoke volumes. Deep down, he knew she had a point. Still, the idea of losing control terrified him. He had always prided himself on being steady and reliable. What would happen if he became someone he no longer recognized? Laura tried to mediate the growing divide among the crew. She understood both sides of the argument, but time was running out. "We can't afford to be divided," she said firmly. "Whether or not you choose activation is your decision. But we need to focus on the mission. If we don't stand together, the Voidborn will tear us apart." Her words helped ease the tension, at least temporarily. For now, the crew focused on their tasks, preparing the station and the ship for the inevitable confrontation. They ran simulations, tested new equipment, and practiced coordinating their abilities. Laura worked tirelessly to refine the serum that stabilized genetic activation, hoping to make it safer for future volunteers. Daniel kept a close eye on morale, knowing that unity would be their greatest strength or their greatest weakness. Meanwhile, Earth struggled to maintain order. The revelation of humanity's engineered origins had sparked widespread unrest. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds chanting slogans ranging from "We are more than weapons" to "Embrace our destiny." Governments imposed martial law in an effort to keep the peace, but incidents of violence continued to rise. Religious leaders clashed with scientists, each side claiming moral superiority. Conspiracy theories flourished, fueled by misinformation and fear. Some groups even called for rebellion, accusing world leaders of hiding the truth or conspiring with the Elders. In the midst of the chaos, Emily Dawson and Dr. Nathan Cole worked tirelessly to promote understanding. They traveled across the globe, giving interviews and speaking at rallies. Their message was simple: humanity's origins didn't define its future. Yes, we were created as weapons, Emily said during one speech. But we've evolved beyond that. We've built civilizations, created art, explored the stars. That's what makes us human, not where we came from, but what we choose to do with our lives. Their efforts inspired some, but distrust lingered. Many people felt betrayed, their sense of identity shaken by the knowledge that they weren't natural beings. Families argued, friends turned against each other, and nations debated whether to cooperate or prioritize their own survival. It seemed as though the Voidborn hadn't even arrived yet, and humanity was already tearing itself apart. Amid the turmoil, strange occurrences grew more frequent. Reports of shadowy figures appearing in dreams became commonplace. People claimed to hear whispers in their minds, urging them to surrender or resist. Scientists dismissed these accounts as stress-induced hallucinations, but others weren't so sure. On board the Odyssey Dawn, the crew experienced similar phenomena. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation, and some members reported seeing faint outlines of dark shapes moving in the corners of their vision. Laura suspected the Voidborn were testing them, probing their defenses. "They're trying to weaken us before they attack," she told Daniel one evening. "If we let fear divide us, they win before the battle even begins." Daniel nodded grimly. "Then we need to stay strong. No matter what happens, we can't let them break us." As the days passed, humanity's resolve began to harden. Despite the divisions and doubts, a sense of purpose emerged. Soldiers trained harder, engineers worked faster, and ordinary citizens found ways to contribute. Communities came together to support one another, sharing resources and offering comfort. Even those who disagreed on the meaning of humanity's origins agreed on one thing: they wouldn't go down without a fight. Finally, the moment arrived. Scouting drones detected the Voidborn fleet approaching Saturn's rings. Massive ships, dark and jagged like shards of obsidian, moved silently through space. Their presence was suffocating, a stark contrast to the sleek designs of human vessels. As the enemy drew closer, humanity's forces mobilized, forming a defensive line near Titan's orbit. Commander Daniel Carter addressed the fleet, his voice calm but firm. "This is it," he said. "We've trained for this. We've prepared for this. And now we face them together. Remember why we're fighting. For our families, our homes, our freedom. Let's show the Voidborn what it means to be human." The battle began with a deafening roar. Energy blasts lit up the darkness as human ships fired upon the Voidborn fleet. The enemy responded with overwhelming force, their weapons cutting through shields and tearing into hulls. Despite their advanced technology, humanity's forces were outnumbered and outgunned. Ships exploded in fiery bursts, sending debris spiraling into the void. Panic threatened to take hold, but Laura's voice cut through the chaos. "Stay focused," she shouted over the comms. Using her telekinetic powers, she deflected incoming attacks, creating barriers to protect nearby vessels. Her actions inspired others, and soon soldiers with activated abilities joined the fray. Telepaths disrupted enemy communications, while enhanced warriors boarded Voidborn ships, fighting hand-to-hand in brutal combat. Private Alex Monroe led a daring assault on one of the larger Voidborn vessels. His strength and speed allowed him to overpower their defenders, but the constant buzzing in his mind grew louder with every passing moment. He pushed through the pain, driven by a single thought: protect his family. When the ship's core was finally breached, he collapsed, exhausted but alive. Back aboard the Odyssey Dawn, Sophia used her newfound agility to repair damaged systems under fire. Ryan, despite his earlier refusal to undergo activation, proved invaluable as a pilot, maneuvering the ship with unmatched skill. Even those without special abilities contributed, manning turrets and coordinating strategies. The battle raged on, neither side gaining a clear advantage. Humanity's forces fought with everything they had, but the Voidborn seemed endless, their numbers replenishing as quickly as they fell. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a new fleet appeared on the horizon. A group of rogue elders who had defied their kind to aid humanity. "We owe you this much," one of the elders said, their voice resonating through the comms. "Together, we will drive them back." With the elders' help, humanity managed to turn the tide. The Voidborn retreated, disappearing into the depths of space. The victory was bittersweet, however. Countless lives had been lost, and Earth lay scared and broken. But amidst the devastation, a spark of hope remained. Humanity had faced its creator's enemies, and proven that it was more than just a weapon. As the survivors regrouped, Daniel looked out at the stars, his expression thoughtful. "This isn't over," he said quietly, "but we've shown them, and ourselves, that we're capable of more than anyone thought possible." Laura stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the same determination. "And whatever comes next, we'll face it together." The victory against the Voidborn was a costly one. Humanity had driven them back, but the scars of battle were everywhere. Earth's cities lay in ruins, their once bustling streets now silent and empty. Billions of lives had been lost, and those who remained struggled to rebuild. The war had left deep wounds, not just on the planet, but within the hearts and minds of its people. On board the Odyssey Dawn, the crew reflected on what they had endured. They had fought bravely, pushing themselves to their limits and beyond. But the cost weighed heavily on them. Laura sat alone in the dimly lit observation deck, staring out at the stars. Her telekinetic powers had saved countless lives during the battle, but using them had taken a toll. She felt drained, both physically and emotionally. The buzzing whispers she sometimes heard in her mind hadn't returned since the fight, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching her. Daniel joined her after a while, his expression weary but resolute. "You did good out there," he said, leaning against the railing beside her. "We all did." Laura sighed, shaking her head. "It doesn't feel like enough. So many people are gone, entire cities wiped out. And for what? To buy ourselves a little more time." "It's not just about buying time," Daniel replied firmly. "We proved something today, that we're stronger than anyone thought. Stronger than the elders ever imagined when they created us. We didn't just fight as weapons. We fought as humans." His words gave her pause. She wanted to believe him, to hold on to the hope that humanity's future could be shaped by choice rather than design. But the doubts lingered. What if the Voidborn returned stronger next time? What if humanity's engineered origins meant they were destined to destroy or be destroyed? Back on Earth, the survivors faced an uncertain path forward. Governments worked to restore order, but trust was fragile. The divisions caused by the revelation of humanity's engineered origins hadn't disappeared with the end of the battle. Some saw the war as proof of their divine purpose, while others viewed it as a betrayal of everything they believed about themselves. Religious leaders preached about redemption and forgiveness, urging people to find meaning in their suffering. Scientists focused on rebuilding, determined to use the knowledge gained from the elders to create a better world. Emily Dawson and Dr. Nathan Cole continued their efforts to unite humanity. They traveled to refugee camps and temporary shelters, speaking to those who had lost everything. Their message was simple: survival wasn't enough. Humanity needed to learn from its past, to embrace its strengths while acknowledging its flaws. "We've been given a second chance," Emily told a crowd gathered in the remains of a bombed-out city. "We can choose to let fear divide us, or we can come together and build something new, something better." Her words resonated with some, but others remained skeptical. Rumors spread about hidden agendas and secret experiments. Conspiracy theorists claimed the elders' technology was dangerous, warning that relying on it would only lead to more destruction. Protests erupted outside research facilities, where scientists worked to develop new advancements based on elder designs. Amid the chaos, Alex Monroe struggled to adjust to life after the battle. His enhanced strength and reflexes made him a hero to many, but the constant buzzing in his mind grew louder with each passing day. He tried to ignore it, focusing instead on helping his community recover. Yet the whispers persisted, faint but insistent, urging him to give in to anger and despair. One evening, As he walked through the wreckage of his hometown, Alex encountered Ryan Miller. The pilot had returned to Earth after the battle, unable to stay aboard the Odyssey Dawn. Without genetic activation, Ryan felt like an outsider among those who had changed. He carried guilt for refusing to undergo the process, wondering if he could have done more to help. "You holding up okay?" Ryan asked, noticing the tension in Alex's posture. Alex hesitated before answering. "I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing myself, like whatever they activated inside me is taking over." Ryan nodded, understanding the sentiment even if he hadn't experienced it himself. "Maybe you need a break. Get away from all this for a while." "I can't," Alex replied sharply. "There's too much to do, too many people counting on me." Ryan placed a hand on his shoulder. "You won't do anyone any good if you burn yourself out. Trust me, I've been there. Take it one step at a time." Their conversation ended abruptly when a sudden tremor shook the ground beneath them. Dust rained down from crumbling buildings as panicked shouts filled the air. In the distance, a dark shape emerged from the horizon, a fragment of the void-born fleet that had somehow survived the retreat. It moved slowly but deliberately, scanning the area as if searching for something. Word spread quickly, and soon survivors scrambled to evacuate. Military forces mobilized what little they had left, preparing to defend against another attack. Laura and the rest of the Odyssey Dawn crew received urgent calls for assistance. Though battered and exhausted, they didn't hesitate to respond. As they approached the void-born fragment, Daniel addressed the crew. "This isn't over yet," he said, his voice steady despite the fatigue etched on his face. "But we've beaten them before, and we'll do it again. Stay sharp." Laura focused her energy, ready to use her abilities once more. Sophia checked the ship's systems, ensuring everything was functioning properly. Even Ryan took his place in the cockpit, determined to contribute however he could. The void-born fragment launched a barrage of attacks, its weapons targeting anything that moved. Humanity's forces retaliated fiercely, combining traditional tactics with the unpredictable strategies born of desperation. Laura used her telekinesis to disable enemy drones, while soldiers with enhanced abilities fought alongside regular troops. Together, they pushed the fragment back, forcing it to retreat into the void. When the dust settled, the crew of the Odyssey Dawn gathered in the main chamber, exhausted but alive. They knew the Voidborn would return eventually, stronger and more determined than ever. But for now, they had bought humanity a little more time. Laura looked around at her teammates, her expression thoughtful. "We've come so far," she said quietly. "But this isn't the end. If we're going to survive, we can't keep looking backward. We need to decide what kind of future we want, and how we're going to build it." Daniel nodded in agreement. "Earth may be broken, but it's still our home. And if we can't fix it here, maybe it's time to look elsewhere. Maybe it's time to explore the stars and find a new beginning." The idea hung in the air, sparking a mix of hope and uncertainty. Humanity's engineered origins had set them on a collision course with destiny, but their choices would define what came next. As the Odyssey Dawn prepared to leave orbit once more, its crew carried with them the weight of their legacy and the promise of a brighter future, wherever it might be found. The idea of leaving Earth behind was both thrilling and terrifying. For centuries, humanity had dreamed of exploring the stars, but those dreams had always been tied to discovery and wonder. Now, the decision to venture into space felt less like an adventure and more like a desperate escape. Yet, as Laura and Daniel discussed the possibility with the crew of the Odyssey Dawn, they realized it might be their only chance for survival. Earth lay in ruins, its resources depleted and its people divided. Rebuilding would take generations, and even then, there were no guarantees. The Voidborn could return at any moment, stronger and more relentless than before. Staying on Earth meant waiting for the inevitable, a second attack that humanity might not survive. Leaving offered a glimmer of hope, a chance to start over somewhere new. Laura voiced her thoughts during one of their planning sessions. "We've spent so long looking inward, fighting over who we are, and where we came from. Maybe it's time to look outward. There are billions of stars out there, countless worlds we haven't even seen yet. One of them could be our new home. Daniel nodded, though his expression remained cautious. It's risky. We don't know what's out there, or if we'll find anything better than what we have here. But staying feels riskier. If the Voidborn come back, we won't have the strength to fight them again. The crew debated the plan late into the night, weighing the pros and cons. Some were eager to leave, seeing it as an opportunity to leave the scars of war behind. Others hesitated, unwilling to abandon Earth entirely. Ryan Miller spoke up, his voice tinged with emotion. This planet is all most of us have ever known. It's messy and broken, but it's ours. Can we really just turn our backs on it? Laura met his gaze, her tone gentle but firm. We're not turning our backs. We're carrying the best parts of Earth with us. Our resilience, our creativity, our hope. And maybe someday, when we're ready, we can come back and make things right. Her words struck a chord, and slowly the crew began to agree. They decided to share the plan with Earth's leaders, proposing a joint effort to construct a fleet of colony ships capable of traveling vast distances. Using technology recovered from the Elder Station, engineers worked tirelessly to design vessels equipped with advanced engines, life support systems, and defenses against potential threats. The announcement sparked mixed reactions across the globe. Some saw it as humanity's last hope, a bold step toward a brighter future. Others viewed it as reckless, accusing leaders of abandoning those who couldn't join the mission. Protests erupted outside government buildings, with crowds chanting slogans like "Stay and rebuild" or "Leave and survive." Emily Dawson and Dr. Nathan Cole played key roles in rallying support for the plan. Through interviews and public speeches, they emphasized the importance of unity. "This isn't about running away," Emily said during a live broadcast. "It's about finding a way forward. Earth will always be part of us, but we can't let fear keep us trapped here. Together, we can create something new." Their message inspired many, and volunteers poured in to help with the construction of the fleet. Scientists, engineers, and ordinary citizens worked side by side, driven by a shared sense of purpose. Even skeptics began to see the value in the plan, realizing that staying on Earth meant accepting defeat before the battle had truly ended. As the months passed, the first of the colony ships took shape. Sleek and massive, they were designed to carry thousands of passengers along with supplies and equipment needed to establish settlements on distant planets. Each ship was named after a symbol of hope: Horizon, Promise, Renewal. The Odyssey Dawn would lead the fleet, serving as both flagship and scout vessel. Preparations for departure weren't easy. Deciding who would go and who would stay was a painful process. Priority was given to scientists, engineers, medical professionals, and families willing to start anew. Those left behind would continue rebuilding Earth, holding on to the belief that humanity's journey among the stars wouldn't sever ties to its homeworld. Private Alex Monroe faced a difficult choice. His family had been evacuated to a safe zone after the battle, but he knew joining the fleet meant leaving them behind. He wrestled with guilt, torn between duty and love. In the end, he chose to stay on Earth, determined to protect those he cared about. "You'll need someone here to keep things together," he told Laura when she asked him to reconsider. "Besides, I'm not sure I'd be much use out there." Sofia Ramirez, on the other hand, volunteered immediately. Her enhanced abilities made her invaluable to the mission, and she wanted to honor the sacrifices made during the war. "I've already lost so much," she said. "If this gives us a chance to start over, I want to be part of it." Ryan also decided to stay, unable to shake his attachment to Earth. Though he admired the courage of those leaving, he felt rooted to the planet that had shaped him. "I'm not cut out for space," he admitted with a wry smile, "but I'll do everything I can to help from here." Finally, the day of departure arrived. Thousands gathered to watch as the fleet launched into orbit, their engines blazing brightly against the night sky. Cheers mingled with tears as loved ones bid farewell, promising to reunite someday. From the bridge of the Odyssey Dawn, Daniel and Laura watched Earth grow smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with unknown dangers and challenges. But as the fleet sailed deeper into the cosmos, a sense of hope settled over its passengers. They carried with them not just the tools to build a new world, but the lessons of their past, the resilience, creativity, and determination that defined humanity. Far away, in the depths of space, the Voidborn regrouped. Their defeat near Saturn's rings had been a setback, but it hadn't destroyed them. They adapted, growing stronger and more cunning. Somewhere in the darkness, they plotted their next move, unaware that humanity was no longer confined to Earth. For now, the galaxy stretched wide and open before the fleet, full of possibilities. Humanity's engineered origins had set them on a path fraught with conflict, but their choices would shape their destiny. As the stars shimmered beyond the viewport, Laura turned to Daniel with a small smile. "We've got a long road ahead," she said. "But for the first time in a long time, I feel like we're exactly where we're supposed to be." Daniel nodded, his eyes reflecting the same quiet resolve. "Then let's make it count." The fleet sailed deeper into the galaxy, its ships carrying the hopes and dreams of thousands. Each day brought new challenges, navigating uncharted star systems, repairing damaged equipment, and ensuring the well-being of passengers who had left everything behind. Yet, despite the hardships, a sense of purpose united them. They were no longer just survivors. They were pioneers, forging a path toward an uncertain but hopeful future. On board the Odyssey Dawn, Laura spent hours studying data from the Elders' archives. She had become the mission's de facto expert on their technology, deciphering ancient blueprints and instructions that others found incomprehensible. Her telekinetic abilities proved invaluable during repairs, allowing her to manipulate tools and components with precision. But as the journey stretched on, she began to notice something troubling. The whispers in her mind, the faint voices she had ignored since the battle, were growing louder. At first, she dismissed it as stress or fatigue. The weight of leadership rested heavily on her shoulders, and sleep was a luxury she rarely afforded herself. But one night, as she worked alone in the ship's lab, the whispers coalesced into words. "You are not alone," they said, their tone neither hostile nor comforting. "We watch. We wait." Startled, Laura dropped the tool she was holding and clutched her head. She tried to focus, searching for the source of the voice. But there was nothing, only the hum of the ship's systems and the distant murmur of stars outside. When Daniel found her moments later, pale and shaken, she hesitated before telling him what had happened. "It could be the Voidborn," he said after a moment, his brow furrowed. "Or maybe leftover traces of the Elder's influence." Laura nodded slowly. "Whatever it is, it feels like it's testing me, watching to see what I'll do next." Daniel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're stronger than you think. Whatever this is, we'll face it together." As the fleet ventured further from Earth, they encountered signs of life. Planets teeming with alien ecosystems, ruins of civilizations long gone, and strange phenomena that defied explanation. Some discoveries filled them with awe, while others reminded them of the dangers lurking in the unknown. On one such planet, they stumbled upon remnants of a species that had fought the Voidborn millennia ago. The ruins were vast and haunting, covered in carvings that depicted battles eerily similar to those humanity had faced. "These people didn't survive," Laura murmured as she examined the carvings. "But they slowed the Voidborn down. Maybe we can learn from their mistakes." Daniel agreed, though his expression remained grim. "Every step forward feels like 2 steps closer to another fight. Are we ready for that?" "We have to be," Laura replied firmly. "If we stop moving, we die." Back on Earth, Alex Monroe and Ryan Miller continued their efforts to rebuild. Though separated from the fleet, they stayed connected through occasional messages transmitted via relay satellites. Their updates were bittersweet. Progress was slow, and resources were scarce, but they refused to give up. Together with other survivors, they worked to restore infrastructure, grow food, and maintain morale. Alex struggled with the constant buzzing in his mind, which intensified whenever the Voidborn fragment reappeared near Earth's orbit. It seemed to linger, watching rather than attacking, as if waiting for something. Despite the unease it caused, Alex channeled his frustration into action, organizing patrols and training volunteers to defend against potential threats. Ryan, meanwhile, focused on documenting humanity's journey, the stories of those who had left and those who had stayed. He believed that preserving their history was crucial, even if the future remained uncertain. "We can't forget where we came from," he often said. "Not if we want to figure out where we're going." Months turned into years as the fleet traveled farther than any human had ever gone. Along the way, they discovered a habitable planet, a lush, vibrant world with breathable air, abundant water, and fertile soil. It wasn't perfect. The atmosphere contained trace elements that required adaptation, and native creatures posed potential risks. But it was a start, a place to call home. When the decision was made to settle, emotions ran high. For many, it marked the end of a long and grueling journey. For others, it felt like the beginning of a new chapter. As they built shelters, planted crops, and established communities, they named the planet New Horizon, symbolizing both their resilience and their aspirations. Laura stood atop a hill overlooking the settlement one evening, watching as the sun dipped below the horizon. Its light painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, a stark contrast to the darkness of space. Daniel joined her, his presence steady and comforting. "We did it," he said softly. "Against all odds, we made it here." Laura smiled, though her eyes reflected a mixture of pride and uncertainty. "For now, yes. But this isn't the end. The Voidborn are still out there, and they'll come for us again. We need to keep pushing forward, to build, to grow, to adapt. That's how we'll survive." Daniel nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "Then let's make sure we're ready when they do." Far away, in the depths of space, the Voidborn regrouped once more. Their patience was infinite, their resolve unshakable. Humanity had proven itself a formidable opponent, but the hive mind saw only obstacles, not impossibilities. In the silence of the void, they prepared for their next move, unaware that the species they sought to consume had begun to transcend its engineered origins. Humanity's journey was far from over. They had been created as weapons, shaped by forces beyond their control. But in choosing to explore, to rebuild, and to dream, they had taken the first steps toward becoming something greater. As the stars twinkled above New Horizon, hope burned brightly within them, a fragile flame, but one strong enough to light the way forward.